Inshallah, tonight we will try to address this as much as we can. Tawfiq of Allah Azza wa Jal. If a person has already decided not to believe in God, then no matter how much you address his question, he is not going to be satisfied. Because this is not the real question for him. The real question for him is whether there is God or there is no God. So he should go back to the first question and try to find out. Sometimes people are going to have genuine question. When a person says why there is illness, why there is suffering, one can say, let's assume for a while that we don't have any illness. There is no suffering whatsoever. There is no poverty whatsoever. There is no any kind of weakness whatsoever. What sort of human being would that be? Basically, that is to say that I want to have perfection. I don't want to have any deficiency. Well, perfection belongs to God. It does not belong to human being. There is only one perfect being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in order to remind human being about his reality, Allah created weakness in human being. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Human being has been created as weak. So in other words, a person who is wishing to have or to become a perfect human being is basically wishing to become God, which is not possible, because there is only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no one beside him. No one can become like him, no matter how much he tries. That's why we see sometimes when Allah Azza wa Jal enables human being, and when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala empowers human being and gives him certain abilities, people have illusion. And human being can think and thinks sometimes that I am everything. I can do anything. I control everything. This is illusion. Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned this in the Quran. Kalla innal insana la yatgha ar-ra'ahu istaghna. Human being becomes rebellious because he sees himself that he became mustaghni. He is not in need of anybody. This is not reality. This is not reality. The reality of the human being, that human being is dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the Fir'aun of Musa alayhi salam, Fir'aun, he claimed to be God. In fact, he claimed to be the highest God. Ana rabbukumul a'la. Well, I can do anything. I control everything. I control Banu Israel. He used to kill the children of Banu Israel. In fact, he ordered for any child who would be born in Banu Israel to be killed. Well, I'm the one who is giving life, and I'm the one who gives death. Anna rabbukum al-a'la. But was it true? It was not true. It was illusion. And I would take a pause. Somebody asked recently that when I make dua, Ya Allah, have mercy on me, have mercy on me. This is how we make dua. Allah raham kar, raham kar. So a question came to my mind. Allah is not having raham on the people of Palestine. If Allah would do mercy, Allah would have done mercy on the children of Palestine. Every day so many children are being killed. If Allah is not having mercy on them, how can I ask Allah to have mercy on me? This question that arises, the question of evil, the question of suffering in this life. When you look at it from a certain angle, it becomes problematic. If you see child born innocent and khalas, immediately died because of a bomb, because of somebody taking his life. It looks very bad. It looks very painful. And it is. When you see, for example, somebody has done nothing wrong and just got killed. I remember I used to have a brother who used to pray salah with me. So he had a young son, about 19 years old. Healthy, perfect, nothing wrong with him. And suddenly one night he died. So basically he went to sleep and he did not wake up. You know, when you have a child, when you have a boy, you have lots of hopes for your family, for your son. This boy, he's going to grow up and he's going to be my help in my old age, etc. Khalas, you have raised him, you have invested a lot of time, because people like business language. Invested a lot of time, invested a lot of money, education, right? Attention, compassion, everything for 19 years, and suddenly he died. What wrong he did? Or what wrong did his parents do? If you just focus on this question from one angle, it becomes a difficult one. But if you try to understand the bigger picture, Allah makes it easy. This life belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal. We all belong to Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has comprehensive knowledge. We don't. We don't know everything. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has comprehensive wisdom. We don't. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has full power. We don't. If Allah Azza wa Jal does something, He must be doing it for a reason, which we don't know. It looks evil, it looks bad, it looks sort of negative. The only way it can look positive if we have the same knowledge as God, which we cannot have. But every now and then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He opens doors of understanding, opens doors of wisdom. If we keep our eyes open, if we truly take time and understand life, Allah Azza wa Jal, He shows signs. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. We will show them our signs in the afaq and also in them, within themselves, until it will become apparent that He is haq, subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was a sheikh, alim. Somebody came to him and asked him a question. I have a shop in the market. I have a neighbor, he also has a shop. And next to him there is another shop. So in the third shop, there was some argument, some fight. So this neighbor of mine, he wanted to find out what is happening there. You know, natural human instinct. You see people arguing, you want to find out what is happening. You see people quarreling, you want to know, right? Especially back home in our countries, people want to know everything, right? We want to know about everybody in our community, who is doing what, who is going where, who is meeting with whom, who is buying which car, did he buy it, did he lease, did he finance? Fudul, hubbul fudul. Because I have nothing to occupy myself with, I am interested in other people's business. Anyway, so he wanted to find out what is happening. And suddenly, during the argument and during the fight, one person, he shoots the other. And because he comes in between, he gets a hit on his back. So he gets a bullet. And he completely becomes disabled person. Because the bullet hits the nerve. So this person, who is a businessman, he is asking the Shaykh, didn't Allah command us to earn a living? Are we not supposed to work for a living? Are we not supposed to support our families? Isn't it obligation to earn a halal living and support the family? Yes. Now this person, poor guy, he did nothing wrong. He went to his business, he went to his shop, and he wanted to earn halal living for his family. And now he got shot. He became disabled. And now he cannot earn any money anymore. How can he support his family? Why did this happen to him? Now, does the Shaykh have answer? So this alim, he said, I know for sure that Allah is just. I know for sure Allah is just. I can testify that. Allah is Al-Adl. One of the names of Allah Azza wa Jal. He is Al-Adl. Allah is just. In fact, Allah is the only one who is just. We all do injustice. I know for sure Allah is just. But why this happened to him, I don't know. We may or we may not know in the near future. But it must have happened for a reason. Then the Shaykh, he left. After some time, somebody came to him and told him that I have a neighbor, not in the shop, in the business, in my building. I have a neighbor where I live. his brother died. His brother, before he died, he bought a property. And he wanted the deal to be finalized. So he asked his brother to help him. Can you finalize this deal on my behalf? And back home, in our cases, people do cash dealings. But it's not a trust in people. So sometimes people want money, they give it from somebody and say, Allah, I want this money, please give this money, etc. So he trusted brother, gave him money to finalize the deal for his property. And somehow, the person who wanted by the point he died. He died. His family knew that the father, husband, was trying to close the deal. And second property is their property. Now they should come to rent from that property. So they were telling the children, they were, uncle, can you leave the rent? No, there is no rent. What rent? Which property? No, there is no property, there is no rent. I don't know about the property. Okay. Poor lady, what should we do? Because if you go to the courts in our countries, you might spend 30 years fighting for the cases, and the case is unbelievable. So they were the alim. They were the sheikh. Another sheikh, not the sheikh, the sheikh. So they told him that this is what happened with us. So in Muslim community, ulama have a status. People have respect for ulama and listen to them. Obviously, government has the executive authority. Government can enforce something. Alim has moral authority. Can say, well, do this, don't do this. Obviously, you accept, you don't accept. There is nothing that can be done. So the Shaykh, he said, okay, inshallah, I will try. I will try to call this person and talk to him. So he did call to that person and talk to that person. That person said, no, I'm not going to give, this property is mine. Why should I give? I also have children, I also have family. I also have my own life, my own expenses. I know my brother has died, but what can I do? Qaddar Allah. Allah took him. Inshallah, Allah will take care of his family. So the Shaykh, he called the family and he said, unfortunately, I have talked to him, but he is not listening. And I do not advise you to go to the court. Obviously, this is in a different country. But I advise you to go to the court of Allah Azza wa Jal. Complain to Allah Azza wa Jal. And I'm sure Allah will have His own ways. So they must have made dua, whatever. So this person came to the first Shaykh and said to him, I have a neighbor, his brother died, and he got the property of his brother, and unfortunately he got shot. A person who doesn't know the background, he would say, this person was innocent. Nothing wrong with him. Why was he shot? Right? And common people don't have ways and means of finding out everything, and nobody has that much time as well. But the person who stopped the risk of his brother's family, Allah Azza wa Jalla stopped his risk. He became disabled, he had to close the shop, he had to close the business. The point is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. And the justice of Allah Azza wa Jalla is absolute. But our knowledge and our experience is very limited. And because of the limitation of our knowledge and limitation of our experience, we do not know every aspect of a certain event. That's why we are very quick to say why this is happening. The person who said, why should I ask Allah to have mercy on me if Allah is not having mercy on the children of Palestine? If the question is true, then the person, he can rephrase the question and he can say, well, some Anbiya alayhimus salam, they were killed. Some prophets were killed. In fact, the people who suffered most are the prophets. Ashaddun nasi bala'an al-anbiya thumma lamthal fal-amthal. And the person who suffered most is Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went to Taif. We know the story and how the people of Taif treated him. Imam al-Anbiya, Sayyid al-Anbiya, Sayyid al-Khalq. The people of Taif disrespected him, disregarded him, dishonored him, abandoned him. And in fact, they encouraged the mob to go again, to go for him and to throw stones on him. So can somebody say, that Allah Azza wa Jal did not take care of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why would he take care of me? This is a very narrow understanding of life and of how Allah Azza wa Jal has designed this life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed this life in such a way that we have both khair and shar. Khair and shar, they are both. But shar is not attributed to Allah Azza wa Jal. Shar is attributed to us. Allah Azza wa Jal, He is the creator of everything. That is true. So in that sense, Allah Azza wa Jal, He is the creator of even khair and shar. But when you talk about shar, when you talk about evil only, it is not appropriate to say and attribute the evil to Allah Azza wa Jal. Because it is a human being who is accountable. And it is a human being who is tested through this khair and shar. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً. And we test you with shar and khair. For a common person, a person who has poverty, he is being tested. But this is one side of the story. A person who has wealth, he is also being tested. A person who has illness, he is being tested. He is going through tests. Right? We say this. But actually a person who is healthy, he is being tested. A person who is going through some difficulty, he is being tested. That is true. But a person who is all right, he is also being tested. In fact, the other tests can be harder. Because at least when a person is going through a difficult time, he knows that he is going through a difficult time. He should ask Allah for forgiveness. He might have done something wrong because of which this is happening to him. So he will make tawbah, he will make istighfar, and he will try to be punctual with his obligations toward Allah Azza wa Jalla, etc. On the other hand, a person who is all right, he would think that I deserve this. Actually, I have worked hard for it. I have done it. This is my achievement. My health, because I go to gym half an hour or 1 hour every day. My wealth, because I have done this dealing, done that dealing. My knowledge, because I have studied in this university, in that university. My experience, my wisdom, my. So that test is harder because a person becomes complacent and a person comes in illusion and think this is mine. And we see this very easily in our life. If you have a young person and let's say he failed the exam, he would say, no, exam was so hard, it was not fair, right? The syllabus that we covered, actually the question was out of syllabus. He would make up any excuse and he would just attribute the failure to somebody else. It's not my failure, somebody else's failure. Or he would say, there was a lot of snow or this, that, I was busy, I could not study for some reason, one another. If he would pass the exam, he would say, yeah, because I was reading all night, I was working all night, I was studying all night. So human being is very quick to attribute any good to him. So when people see any suffering, they see it as a test, which is true. But actually everything is a test. Suffering is a test, and having comfort in your life, that is also a test. And this is mentioned in the Quran in many places. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also mentioned in many places. And since it is a test, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He gets to decide to test people according to His great wisdom. Sometimes, individuals are tested. Sometimes families are tested. Sometimes nations are tested. If you take one incident or a series of incidents, over a period of time, let's say over a period of a year, or a period of 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be, in the life of that family, in the life of that nation, that is a very small period of time. It is like, say a person lives 60, 70 years, right? It is very normal to have an injury somewhere. It is very normal that you hit your head against a wall, for example. Or it is very normal that stumble and hurt your knee. It is very normal that a person would slip and would hurt his elbow. A person who has lived for 60, 70 years, he is going to have some sort of injury, one way or another. Right at the moment when that happened, it looks very bad, it looks very painful, and it is. But if you see, this is necessary for a person to become strong. Nobody would become strong without walking and without running. And nobody can walk without stumbling. We see this in our life. People who have young children have experience. Children, how many times, people have to take the children to the hospital because of, sometimes very weird reasons. You could never imagine that you could have such injury, and that happens. Because that is how the children become strong. In fact, modern science has, not even modern science, even in the past, people have learned this, that, let's say, for example, poison. Poison looks bad, But actually the poison has tiryaq in it. Poison has cure in it. It is up to us to discover the tiryaq inside the poison. Right? Like nowadays, for example, there are viruses. People get infected through these viruses. Well, virus is very bad, very negative. But you ask a scientist, he will tell you that if you get infected, you will become strong. You will develop immunity. When there was COVID, right, there was a term that was used quite a lot in the scientific journals, etc. Herd immunity, collective immunity, right? The sooner you become infected, the sooner you are all right. Obviously, nobody wants to get infected, and nobody should wish for any illness as such. But you have the flip side of it as well. Many people, they got infected, and somehow they managed. So what looks bad, there is also good in it. So the way a person through illness and through suffering becomes strong, a family, a nation also becomes strong through suffering. That suffering on its own, it looks very bad. But if you look at it in the scheme of things, in the bigger picture that might be needed, Allah knows. Allah Azza wa Jal knows. The natural disasters that happen, there is a scientific explanation that is given. For example, earthquake. There are so many benefits of earthquake, and people have written about it. Volcanoes that happen. So much of the treasure of the earth is discovered through volcanoes, and we benefit one way or another. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is just. And the fi'l of Allah Azza wa Jalla is only khair. Allah Azza wa Jalla, out of great wisdom, has given human being the ability to do good or to do bad. And human being would choose to go for this or to go for that. And based on that, Allah Azza wa Jalla will make a judgment. If the human being was not given any ability to decide and to choose, why would he have accountability? Why would he be responsible? If a person has no option except to do good, well, why would he become hero? He will only become hero if he can choose to do good, although he had the other option. Like sometimes you read in the newspaper that somebody found a wallet which has a lot of money, right? And then he goes to the police and he says that I found this money. Then you will have the name in the newspaper that such and such person, he found this wallet and he gave it, although he had the option to keep the money. Likewise, Allah Azza wa Jal, He has given the ability, and because of this ability, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He tests people. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالْخَيْرِ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ fitna. Having said this, sometimes people who have suffering, it looks that they have suffering, but actually they may not be suffering. That is suffering for us, for the people who are seeing. A person from inside is satisfied with the decisions of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because a person realizes what Allah decides for him is better than what he can wish. There was a story of, I don't know whether it is Sultan Abdul Hamid or somebody else, the Ottoman emperor. He was on the bed in the hospital, because of illness. So somebody visited him and asked him, how are you doing? He said, I'm so much pleased. I'm so much spiritually uplifted during this period of sickness and illness. If I get better and this spiritual nearness of Allah Azza wa Jal is taken away from me, I wish for this sickness to last. बाद दफ़ा आदमी बीमार होता है तो बीमारी में आदमी अल्लाह से करीब होता है. तो उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे क़ुर्ब की ऐसी नेमत हासिल है कि अगर मैं अच्छा हो जाऊं और ये जो नेमत है ये छीन ली जाए तो मेरी ख्वाहिश है कि मैं अच्छा ना हूं. So sometimes what is suffering for somebody is actually not suffering. It looks suffering for somebody else, but not for you. And the other way is also true. Sometimes we see people doing all right, but you go and talk to them, and you will find out the problems they are going through. Most of the people, they look financially well. They look, their life looks stable. But the problems they are going through are unbelievable. Sweden is a country in Europe which is very advanced. You think of, a facility which should be there, sort of service the government should provide to the people. It is there. You have hospitals, you have roads, and you have, social services, social security, everything is there. But it is a country where you have high rate of suicide. So how come people who are all well off, healthy, fit, financially well, there is no worry whatsoever, how can they commit suicide? So sometimes what may not look suffering might be actually suffering. So we cannot decide who is suffering and who is not suffering. And we cannot decide actually what is khair and what is shar. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He knows what is khair for somebody and what is shar for somebody. Obviously this is a huge topic and we can go on, but inshallah I will stop here. May Allah Azza wa Jalla with understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina Muhammad walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
अच्छा इतना टाइम